Um, so I know maybe we don't need to do this, but how many of you have forked NGM AMRS? You've all forked it?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you created branches?
No, we have not yet created branches.
Have you created a branch?
Yeah, I've created one branch.
Alright. Burger will.
According to GitHub, there's 3 forks.
Okay. What exactly is a branch?
Actually, JJ, I don't know why I can't, in the screen share on this Hangout, I can't find the, I'm supposed to share the terminal, but somehow I can't, it just doesn't show up for some reason. It doesn't show all the things I have, so it's kind of...
No problem.
Yeah.
Are you able to share?
Let me try.
You're trying to share a screen? Don't know what's going on here. Let me try again.
Yeah, you just hit screen share, say which screen you want to share, and share it.
You know how the Mac is? It has all these different screens, so it is on the another one. That's why it shows only the things that are on the current screen. That's the problem. So I have to move the window to this screen, and then I think I'll be able to share it.
Okay.
Do you want to project? Are we able to?
Can you see my screen now?
You should be able to see it in a short while. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my screen. I'm just gonna go and say git search. No, look at git st. Okay.
If you could maybe make your font bigger, Willa, it's a little hard for us.
Okay, fine. How about now? Is that okay?
One
a little
more.
bit.
Is that okay?
Make it a little bit bigger than you think is big.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Fine.
good.
So, yeah. So, if you go to GitHub on my account, I have a project. I called it.
So you should. Do you need your fork of NGMRS, or can you start from scratch?
I'm just gonna. I think JJ wants to. I'm just gonna use another project to demonstrate. I'm not going to use NGM. I could use it, but.
Why don't we use NGMRS? Because we want everyone to be forked and working on it.
Okay, I already forked it. That's why.
So, Willa, can we do this? Can you fork it? Everybody's already forked it, so I think we know how to do it. What's the command?
I don't think we need
go
to
to the GitHub page.
Yeah.
And you can show them where it's literally one button. And I think everybody's done it, but
except for me.
You mean showing the NGMRS?
Yeah,
Just showing how you forked it. Eh?
GitHub/AMRS.
Okay. So there you are. You can see the screen now, I guess.
Yeah, but you're on your repo.
Yeah, I am on my repo. That's right. So AMPATH NGMRS,
There it is.
and then there's a button you can click fork. So if I click this button, I am actually a member of OpenMRS. I can fork it to AMPATH. Can I? No, I can't. I guess I can't do to this, but I can fork to Mizima because I have rights to fork any projects there, and also I can fork here. But because I already forked it, it says click to visit that name fork, my name.
GitHub is so smart.
Yeah, very, very smart. So if I go there, I'll see my fork right there. So what I do is, okay, I'll just redo this. Again, it's fine. I can just get rid of the project later on. I'll click this one. I'll copy the URL, the clone URL, and then I'll go to the terminal. Can you guys still see my terminal?
I don't know. Are you on it now? Because we see your
I
browser.
am on it now.
I think you're sharing your applications, not your screen.
Yeah, I'm sharing my applications. That's the thing. Okay. So
if you share an application, when you change applications, you have to unshare and then go share the other application.
And then share again, and yeah. Okay, now I think you see my screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I say CD. I have a place where I called it a scratchpad. Now I'm in a scratchpad. So to clone, I just say git clone, and then I'll paste the URL. I think you guys. Okay, do you get that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if I fork that, it will clone. If I clone that, it will clone the project. If I say git remote, I want to display all the remote refs that are currently created in this repo.
You have to move into that repo now.
Yeah. Sorry, I have to move git ng-amrs, and then if I say git remote -v, I'll see that there's an origin. It has been created. That's what Mark was referring to his email. So the origin, in this case, my origin is in my account, the repo in my account. Now, usually, the way the workflow works, we maintain two remote references. One is to your fork in the account, which is the origin, and the other one is what we call usually, according to the standards, they call it upstream. Now, for me, I just found the names very confusing. Then I defined my own way of dealing with that, which is not according to standard. So you don't have to follow my way of doing it.
So just since we're establishing convention for our organization, let's just go with it sounds the wider convention that we'll use upstream to refer to the original repository, and then origin to refer to the forked repository, which I don't know why they did it that way, Burke. Wouldn't it have been easy to do origin?
Origin is what you've cloned. So origin, that's what it comes with. Upstream. So can you cat .git /config?
Yeah, sure.
So the magic is it's just a config file, and you can see when you look at this that it defines a remote, and it just gives it the name origin. The reason for using origin for the origination of whatever you cloned is that's a convention that Git will do automatically, because you can see all he did was clone this, and he has a remote called origin. So you'll kind of.
Burke, we can't see his screen.
Oh well, click on him.
Hold on 1 second, we're changing.
Yeah, all you have to do is click on him once, and it'll stay on him.
Okay.
So,
sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. You just select the person you want to stay on, and it won't switch around. Okay. So if you look at the, so you're seeing now the config.
Yeah.
So there's no magic. What you see in that is it's a fairly simple configuration file, and there's a remote entry, and it's named origin. That you get automatically from Git, and that is referring to the origin of wherever you've cloned from. The idea of using the name upstream is for whatever that your origin might have forked from is just there's no requirement that it be called upstream. It's just a convention that's used widely in the community. So the reason you can name these anything you want. You could go in and change the name of origin to Willa, whatever, Willa something, or you could make it Foobar or anything you want. It's just for the sake of when you share commands, or you're trying to say, oh, I need to push this, I'm not sure how, and you're sharing Git commands with other people using the names origin and upstream, people will recognize right away. And anybody writing scripts might write scripts against those names.
Okay.
So but you can see in the configuration, there's no magic to it. It's literally just a string. But origin you get by default. You could go in and manually edit this file and add a remote upstream and put the URL and copy the fetch and tweak it. But there's a git command to set if you wanted to add upstream. But there's a git command that will add another remote. So all we're doing when we do these commands to manipulate remotes is we're just setting what Git calls a remote connection. And so you could have references to not just your cloned repo and upstream. You could reference other repos as well if you needed to. But in most cases, in the pattern we do, you fork a repo, you clone your fork locally, and then you have origin, you add your upstream, and you're good to go.
Okay, I'm gonna close that file now.
Yeah. You want to add the upstream?
Yeah. So I'm gonna add the upstream, and it's you can use the command or you can edit the file. Editing the file is very error prone, so you don't usually want to do that. It's easy just to use the command. So you just say git remote add, and then you have to get the URL. Now, in order for me to do that, I have to go and share the browser again. I'm not going to do that because what you need to do. Okay.
We're going to try and do this as you're saying it for our own accounts. Okay.
Huh?
We're going to try and do this as you're demonstrating it for our own.
We're following along.
Okay. So I have to go step by step and slowly. Okay, fine. So
you can tell them. You just go to the original. I mean, go to the upstream. Go to the ng-amrs on AMPATH.
Yeah, but I have to reshare my because I'm not sharing the screen. I don't know how to share the screen.
Yeah, don't worry about that.
Don't worry about that.
People can go to the AMPATH repo.
Yeah. So that's what I was avoiding
around.
to do that. Wait, am I still sharing? Sorry, guys.
No, you stop sharing.
Okay, share. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the AMPATH repos as the upstream. So what I do is I say git remote add. I give a name which is upstream, and then I copy and paste the URL, which will be.
Sorry.
Huh?
Who has forks? We all have forks.
Yeah, we can go on to fork now.
You need to fork. All right.
I'm not hearing you guys.
Only 3 people have forked, so it can only possibly be.
Fork now. Okay.
Oh, okay. Are people doing this right now? Like doing it right now?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I didn't realize that people will wait until we're okay, fine. So
just pause for a second, Willa. Well, until we give you a go-ahead to go to the next point, okay?
Okay.
I only see 4 forks, so
maybe your connection is slow.
He's just connecting, so it'll be a second.
yeah. No, I think the number of forks will change instantly.
My Wi-Fi.
Yeah, just 4.
It's just, it should be. It should just be AMPATH 123 JP's iPhone or something.
The developer doesn't work.
Independent doesn't have connectivity.
Doesn't know. Some conditions.
You manage or you're still struggling?
Try refreshing.
So far, it's myself, Willa, Nikki, and Eric have forked in GRMRS. You can actually go under, you can click on the number next to fork and look at the members, and it shows all the people, all the users who have forked the repo.
Yeah, whom else do you expect to fork this project? Is it Alfayo and the
IO and
JJ?
JJ. I think technically this is referred to as a cluster fork.
What?
Nothing.
Cluster fork, because a lot of forks are doing forks. Right? Is that the reasoning behind that?
No, I'm making it up. There's a word that's sometimes used for when things are not going well, when they're chaotic. People say cluster fork, but they don't use the word fork.
Okay.
They use a bad word that I'm unwilling to say.
All right. I see. Okay. The good thing is, I think, Bart, basically what we've been doing with the AMPATH tickets and modules, it's exactly what we're trying to do here. So it's not something new, especially for Alfayo, for example. That's what we've been doing with all the modules.
While we're waiting for Alfayo to get connected, looks like...
JJ, you haven't forked yet.
No, I have not. Can you think about how to create a conflict? Because I'd really like for us to see how you resolve these conflicts manually.
Yeah. I can create a conflict. It's
easy. Well, we can do it in real time. We'll just make a branch.
Yeah.
Share that branch, and then have two people edit the same line.
Actually, you can do it. One person can do it also. You don't even have to have two people. Just create the two forks. To clone it twice, then do it on those separate repositories. Yeah. Then you can have the conflict.
Yeah, that's probably an easier way to show it.
Yeah. Okay, so
is Alfayo connected yet?
Technology is failing us on this other side, so yeah, just continue showing us the conflict.
Mark, do you like help with writing, waiting for situations like this? Yeah.
No, just me.
Anyway.
Back, what is
Right
that?
there.
The second one?
No,
That's
whatever sound that just came from your computer.
yeah. That's the sound on the wheel of no. Price is Right. No, it's not. It's
No, that's from The Ghost Must Be Crazy.
no. It's well, they might play it on that, but it's
Yeah.
from a
We're
game.
now fourth.
I see 5. And Quatuha. Njema.
Anyway,
So,
Alfred knows about this.
all we're
So it's
missing
not
is JG. All right. So, shall we add it? Oh, are we cloned? Is everyone cloned?
1 second. Set up your clone.
It's going to be War of the Clones.
We have the clones. If you say if you type in your repo cd into that directory, the ngmris, if you type git remote -v, you should see the origin. It is pointing to both fetch and push, meaning that you can fetch, you can also push. I think all of you have the rights to push. I have the right to push. I don't know about others, but maybe you do have the rights to push. Yeah. So can we add the upstream now?
Just 1 second.
Yeah, clone. Yes.
Upstream then to query URL.
So when you when you do get remote -v, you see the origin, fetch and push URLs.
Yeah. Basically, it is showing you all the remote refs. So if you have another one there, if the upstream was there, it would have shown it also.
Willa, can we proceed?
Yeah, sure. So to add another remote reference, what you do is you say git, you use the git remote command. You say git space remote space add space, you give the name of the remote repo you want to add. So you can give any name you want, but since we want to follow the convention, we're going to use the upstream. So I've just added the upstream. I think you guys, you can see my screen.
Yes.
So I have git remote add space. I have the name. The name is upstream is not a command. It's a name. It could be anything. It could be Fulbright. It could be Willa. It could be AMPATH. It could be anything you choose to put. And then you copy and paste the URL from the AMPATH repo now. If you go to AMPATH/ngmris on your right-hand side, you'll see the same URL like the one you have on your repo, on your fork. So we copy that.
Most people could probably guess it by seeing the URL to yours.
I'm sorry?
So the URL is, once you've seen the first one, github.com/mhawilla-ngrms.git, you notice the convention is they use .git at the end of git URLs, and so the only thing that's going to change in that is the username.
Yeah.
How do you show the config file? Oh, never mind.
Yeah, so after that we just press enter, and then
Up
so if you say git remote, if you say git remote -v now, you will see two remote references. One is the origin, the other is upstream. And again, if you go to the file, you'll see the stuff is written there.
Okay.
You will see that the upstream has been added. So you could just come to this file and add it manually, but I don't recommend that because you might make some mistakes.
So let's add a branch now.
Okay. So branch, I'm going to create a new branch. I'll say git checkout. Now you can, well, I've shortened my commands. Checkout, instead of typing checkout, I usually use CO. You can also create that if you want, but anyway, I just use checkout for now. Checkout -b means this is creating a branch and checking it out at the same time. So I call it new branch.
Can we use the conventions we intend to use?
Okay, fine. So let's say we have a ticket AA hyphen number 10, AA10, Angular AMRS 10. So we're going to create a branch referencing that ticket number. So we call it AA10. And then now it's checked out. So I can do some things in there. If I say ls cd up.
So can you, wait, before you go off changing, can you show your branches?
Yeah, I can. So git branch hyphen L. It will give you the list of all the branches. You have the master branch, you have the AA hyphen 10. You can have as many branches as you want.
What happens if you say git branch, does it just show you your current one?
Okay, let's see. I usually, yeah, well, it does also. So I usually use hyphen L. I don't know, for some reason I do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you can add hyphen L if you want to type more.
Yeah, if you want to type more. Yeah.
You don't even need anch.
Huh?
You don't even need anch. It looked like git br was enough.
Yeah, because I have these. You have to add these.
Oh, I don't have that as a.
Yeah, try. Maybe it's now it's conventional. It comes with Git. You might try it. Maybe it works.
It doesn't. You've added that as a shortcut.
Yeah, it's a shortcut. You have to add it. Okay, so I'm in AA10. I can do whatever I want here. Say,
so folks can see that there's a master branch. That's always the default. When you check something out, is the master branch, and that's the convention of the official copy of whatever your code is called master. And then Will has created and in one step created and checked out a branch called AA10, which is just going to be a copy of master to start out with. And you can see he's on AA10 because it's got the asterisk next to it.
Yeah. If you do git hist, it will just show the 2 commits. Yeah, so we're gonna add something. I'm gonna create a file. Let's say I'll say nano. What can I call it? Okay, maybe tested.js. And then I'll say var, or maybe use strictly var name. My name is Willa. Okay, so I'm just gonna commit this. Control X, Y. You can see that the command line shows. The good thing about this item, it is actually it understands Git. So when you're working with it using Git, it can show you some of the things that are very nice. For example, here it shows me I'm in the branch I'm currently on right now. It is AA10. There are some changes in there. If I say git st, which is status, for me I use st, I'll see that untracked file, you have changes, and then I can commit it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to commit this file. First I have to add it, git add test. Yes.
What tool are you using? Are you, what is it that's changing your prompt?
This is item.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Item?
Yeah, iTerminal. It's called iTerminal.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it's very nice actually. It's doing these things with Git. It's very interesting.
Okay, go ahead.
So I'm going to add the file git add.
So that's that you're saying that is very simple, but do folks understand the difference between staging and?
Yeah. So Bart, I didn't think we were going to. I don't think we are going to do this. Is not like a Git training thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what you know. This is basically the beginning of our time learning how to do this. So if we can make sure everybody understands everything the first time, we will be much better off, and we won't ever have to do this again.
Yeah, I don't know if folks know the difference between what it means to stage a file for commit.
Do you know?
Yeah, maybe you can just go ahead. Maybe the better question is, do people want to hear and someone explaining those things?
Right, right. That is important.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you can go ahead, Brad. Actually, I think you'll give a better explanation than me.
Well, whenever you revise a file or add a file, when you make changes in Git, it has, it it takes some getting used to. But what Git does is those changes, it will see that they've been done, but it won't commit them. If you do a commit, it won't automatically commit those. It does have some very smart comments that will give you hints to guide you. Like you can see when he goes and does a status, he can see there's untracked files. It'll even tell you the command to add those files to staging. But basically what Git does is there's a difference between files that have been changed, changes that then are staged to be committed, and then there's a commit that actually commits the change to the versioning. So typically you make a change to a file, it will not be staged until you use the git add command. When you do git add, that will add the file to staging. So what Willa has just done is he added this change to test. And if you do, can you do git status? Type git status.
Yeah, sure.
And you'll see the difference. So it had an untracked file. Now when we look at a status, now it'll say, hey, I've got something staged to be committed. So it says, here's something I know about, and if you do a commit, this change will be committed to your branch. And it even tells you how to unstage it if you accidentally stage something and you wanted to unstage it.
Okay.
But basically, it's worth knowing. I don't think we need to go through all the detail of it, but it's worth knowing that when you make changes, there will be it's very common early on using Git to make some changes, do a commit, and it says you've got nothing to commit, and you're like, well, why do I just made all these changes? Why are there's nothing to commit? And if you do a git status, which is a very useful command to kind of see where you are, what things have been changed in your current branch. Then
say you have a file that you have added, you make some changes to that file, and then you save it. Git notices that you've changed, that changes have happened.
Yeah. So the staging happens at the file, the level of the file. So if you stage something like test.js, if Willa went in and edited that file, it would still be staged.
Okay, so my question is if you reset the head,
yep.
Let's say you've already added the file, you've made changes to the file, so the file has been added and I guess it's staged at that point. You make changes to the file, and then you reset your head. What happens at that point?
So all that's doing is unstaging that file. It's not making any change to the file. It's just saying, okay, well, I'm taking that file out of staging. And staging, you can think of this kind of like the ante-room, the room before the commit, where things are loaded into the committed. That's the image is basically you're unloading that file out of the truck. So the next commit you do, it wouldn't be included. So one of the things we would get to, and if we got to talking about conventions, was it's best practice to commit things that all belong to one task. So if you went into a branch and you fixed one bug, and then you let's say you added a feature and you added a second feature, rather than committing those all as one commit, it's best practice to commit those as two separate commits, one for this feature, one for that other feature.
Yeah.
So in that case, if there were small changes and you happen to change both two files, you would stage one file and you could commit that as this is fix one, and then you could stage the second file and commit that and do it as. So the staging really, it seems extraneous, it seems unnecessary when you're first working with Git, but the reason it exists is it gives you full control over what actually will be included in your commit, even if you have other changes in the active branch.
Okay.
Yeah, and okay, go ahead.
No, I guess what I'm wondering is, I mean, it's a little confusing right now because we're adding the file. So let's just say we've added the file, okay? And we've committed it, and our head is now set to, you know, the project with the file in it, right?
Yeah.
Then you make some changes to the file.
Oh, I see. You're confused by the word add. Add is not creating a new file, or it's not because it's a new file that we're using the word add. Add
Right.
is used even if you have an existing
I
file.
understand that. I'm just wondering if you reset the head, maybe I'll just I'll put it on.
Okay.
When you're resetting the head, you're just resetting where Git considers the change to be. You're not. There's a difference between checking out the head, which would be actually undoing changes.
Okay.
Yeah. So just add on that. There are Git. When you're working with Git, there are like three. You can think of it like you have three branches. One of them is no branches. I think is not a very good term to use there, but you have like three separate places. One
Cursors.
Huh?
Kind of like cursors in the.
Yeah, you can say cursors. They have a very nice word for that. I don't remember it. But anyway, so you have the working. They call it the working tree or working. Yeah, and then you have the staging area, and then you have this like the one that contains your commits. So the staging is between your working area and your commits.
Okay.
So when you are
let's keep going because I'm worried that we're going to start losing people.
so these are just details, theoretical details, and maybe you can actually live very happy without even knowing them, as long as you're just following the convention. So
I want to just take a pause and say we've established one convention, okay, which is that we will commit one feature at a time, not multiple features. And that
yeah. The good thing is with commit, you can even commit multiple things, and then you can commit multiple small things, and then at the end you can do a rebase, and then create one big commit of all things that corresponds to only one feature.
Let's keep it simple for now. But the other thing that I want to ask Burke though is that I think we have to distinguish between kind of a master branch and the original, the upstream, just because it seems like it would be a good practice to be on your local branch to be committing frequently and pushing those commits so that you have a backup of anything that so if your computer gets lost.
There's mixed feelings about that. Like you'll see some folks that say commit often but never commit partially done work and don't just use commits as a backup. But I think for us it does make sense to, if you're working in a branch, especially on your own fork, then there's no reason not to commit those. The reason is, I think that there's a little bit of a debate of that, is that people want to be able to look at the history of commits and see kind of logical transactions of, oh, here's the commit that did this, rather than seeing what sometimes people refer to as machine gun committing, where you go to make a change, and let's say you have to change 10 files, rather than making one commit that makes changes to those 10 files that all fix or add that feature, you have commit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and some of the files are changed in the first commit, some in the second, some in the third. And there are ways of merging commits that is a little bit more advanced, but so there's a little bit of debate there in terms of just committing things that are half done. But I would say from the standpoint where we are right now, it's probably more important that people get work, even work that's half done, committed, so that both it's backed up and they can, someone else, like if someone was working on something and then fell sick, someone else could pick it up without having to get their laptop.
Yeah, just to add on that, I think it's okay because first of all you're pushing to your local repo, And second, you can later on, if you want to create a pull request, you can clean up those commits and create something that is logical and then create a pull request on that. So it's fine.
Okay. So my next question for you is: we've now checked out a branch. Is the branch going to be something that gets pushed back to GitHub, or are we going to just keep that local?
That's your choice. You can choose to push it to the GitHub, but also you can choose to keep it just local. Depends on what you're
No,
doing.
sorry, well, I don't mean is it possible. I mean, what are we going to do?
Okay. The standard. I think in this case, if you're working on AA10, for example, you have to push it to your local repo. So that's where it is mostly.
No, you mean it's not it's not local. You mean you push it to your GitHub repo?
I mean, yeah, sorry, your remote repo on GitHub. That's what I mean.
Okay, so why don't you do that then? So we're going to agree that
that's
we're going
what
to
I was going to do.
to local GitHub repositories.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. So git commit, and then I put some message there. I say, usually when we are writing messages, we want to start with the labeling of the ticket which we're working on, and add some very descriptive thing about what you are doing. Added an M in the file, for example.
Yeah, so I think we don't need to go into heavy detail here, but Git will force you to put comments when you commit, which is best practice because you don't want to have commits that are mysterious. But in general, commit comments should be something that is short, and Git will actually complain if you make a really long commit comment. So they generally should be a sentence fragment, not even a full sentence. And but the purpose of that commit comment is you want to think about from the perspective of if I came back a year from now and needed to look at this commit and understand what it was about, I don't want to have to go look at all the code to try to infer what I had done in this commit. So you're speaking to other people and to your future self. When I'm committing this code, what did I do? What work was done in this commit? And you want to just make a short reference to that. So a good commit message summarizes very succinctly. This is what was done, the work that I'm adding to the repository now.
Okay. All right. So do you want to go ahead and commit? Why doesn't everybody do this for their? So commit your branch.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna push right now. If you're ready, guys.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just gonna use the command git push origin, and then I'm gonna type in the branch name. But does this, now I'm a bit confused. Does this represent the name of the branch on my remote repo, right? It's not actually referring to the name here.
The convention.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you're saying what you're. Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to look.
Yeah. I've been doing this for so long that I'm not really sure what is referred to here. But the point is, when I do a git push origin AA10, it's gonna push this branch. It says new branch created AA10. Yeah, I think this is. I might be wrong, but it's referring to the name I just put is referring to the name that will be used on my remote.
Yeah.
Remote repo. Yeah. So I could use a different name, but usually you want to keep the names in sync. So I'm just gonna use the same name. So I just said git push origin AA10.
Can you go to the GitHub site now and just show us what that does?
Yeah, sure. So
You guys commit.
Yeah,
Commit a branch. Yeah. Can you make that? Can you zoom a bit?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
So
Perfect.
now you'll see on his, when he looks at his branches, when he does that drop down, you'll see that there's more than just master.
Okay.
Yeah, and also GitHub is very smart. It's actually telling you there that there's a 10 1 minute ago. You can even do a compare and do a pull request. So if I just click there, I'll see that there's a 10 and master. They've been created.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna create really quick. We're just going to create a conflict.
Well, now that you've added the file, can you now merge the branch back to your master?
Yeah, I can.
Let's do the conflict. Let's do the conflict handling first, and then we can.
Yeah. Let's do the conflict first.
So show that file. Just show the git config, just so people can see what's happened. I think it's worth understanding that there's not magic happening behind the scenes. There's just simple things Git is doing.
Yeah, there it is.
So, but it doesn't show. It doesn't show your. I thought it might show your branch, but it doesn't show.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't show the branches. The branches, because what happens is the branches are tracked in your remote repo, and they're tracked in your remote I guess.
No, you made a branch in your local.
Yeah, that's what yeah, that's right.
I'm surprised that it doesn't have a reference to your AA10 branch. Interesting.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Can you show the branches again?
Yeah, I can. So you mean on the GitHub or on here?
Just get a branch. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, it's maybe it's different. It might be different.
Just a quick question as we move on. So,
Not even that. I don't know where this information is. Well, it is maintained somewhere in this .git directory, somewhere either it is objects or it's refs. Remote set tags. Okay. It is, yeah. Well, so this information is somewhere in the .git directory. It's not.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. I thought it would just show up there, but so much for that.
Okay. So.
Hold on 1 second. We have a question from Eric.
Yeah.
I just wanted to understand now. You notice that there's a slight difference maybe between the master and the branch. So in this case, that the branch that you have created is containing all the details available on the master plus one extra file that you added. Is that right?
Right.
Okay. So in this case, for example, when assuming that this is the whole application and you're doing a release, do you merge that to the master, or usually just release branches?
Okay, now I think we have to discuss the strategies we use. You can, if you want, you can release the branch. It's really up to you. But usually, what we do is we merge the branch to the master, and then you tag the master, and then you do a release on that tag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a distinction between there's a distinction between feature branches, which is what this AA10 would be, addressing a ticket. And then what I was mentioning in my email is that we often, when we're doing releases, we'll make version branches, and that's a little bit different. Those are branches made to track changes to a version over time.
Okay.
Yeah, just real quick. For example, in OpenMRS, you have branches like 1.x.x, 0.8.x. That is going to be tracking changes for 1.8.x versions, 0.81, 2, 3, and so on. And then you have another branch, 1.9x. You have another one.
But I think we could get to that at the time we're talking about how to do releases. I think we'll confuse things if we try to do all that at the same time.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. So what were we doing again? No.
You were going to clone your repository, go somewhere else, clone it, and make a change.
So just as we proceed with that, a quick question. Now, when you merge your branches with the master, for example, for the features that we are doing. Once
Yeah.
you have done the merge, does it lose all those branches that you have merged?
No, they'll
No,
still be around.
you have to prune the branches.
Yeah, if you want, you can leave them around, although I wouldn't recommend. They don't do anything. They'll just lie there around, and yeah, they'll be stay around.
Okay.
That's another best practice, is not to leave leave branches around.
Yeah.
Because then you end up with sticks all over the yard.
Yeah, you can. There's a command for that. I think is it git clean or okay. Anyway, so
I have another question. So when you create a pull request and then you actually merge that fork to the original repo, what happens to the branches? Are they also transferred to the original repo?
if I understand you correctly, Nick, you are saying what happens when you create a pull request and then the branch, your code is made to the master? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, usually what is done is you make a pull request to the master. So you work in a branch like the AA10 in your fork, and then you would say, okay, now I want to take whatever changes I've made in this branch, my AA10 branch, and I want to create a pull request to the upstream, to master on upstream. And so that pull request is really, here's a diff, here's all the changes between what's in master and on the upstream and your code in your branch. So when you make a pull request, you're just saying, will you accept these changes? Usually you're not saying, will you add my AA10 branch to the upstream repo? You're saying, will you take the changes in my AA10 branch into the master of the upstream? So
common to do it through branches, or do you normally merge it with your fork and then try and then make a pull request for your whole fork?
yeah, you can create a pull request from any branch to any branch, So,
Okay.
so the common thing to do would be to make a pull request from your branch to master on upstream. And the reason for that is that if you make that pull request and they say, oh, geez, you forgot to do this or forgot to do that, you don't want to have merged everything into your master branch, and then now you got to make additional changes. So,
Okay.
so it just by having that branch for AA10, making your changes, making the pull request. Once your pull request has been, if it's accepted, then you can just prune. You can just delete your branch because now your changes are in the upstream master. You can go to your master branch. You can update it, pull any changes from upstream, and you'll get your changes that you'd made.
Okay, so another way of saying that is that should you avoid working off of your forked master? Seems like the purpose of the master is really just to keep a consistent version of what's in the upstream.
Yeah, the challenge with making changes to your master is that you would then need to, if you want to get those back to upstream, back into the actual the official repo, you would have to make a pull request from your master branch of changes you made there. You could do it. I mean, if you're making if you fork a repo and you say, I just need to edit one file and correct a typo, you wouldn't necessarily have to create a branch for that. You could do it in your master branch and then make the pull request. But if that pull request is not accepted, then your master is no longer kind of in line with what the truth is.
All right, so as another convention, and of course these are conventions, so these are exceptions, but we will be making pull requests from branches, okay?
Yeah. Yeah, so the thing is,
I'm writing these down as we go along. That's why
I'm writing them into today's notes too.
Oh, that's great, Bart, because I was wondering when am I going to take the notes. Appreciate that. Yeah, I think we just need to clarify one thing. Although, yeah, so the branches, the master is just a name also, just like any other name. It's also a branch. So it's sometimes when you're starting working with Git, you might think like of master like something that is a bit special or something, but it's just a branch like any other branch. Basically. I just wanted to. I think it's good if we have an understanding of that as well.
Right, but I mean, I guess the way that I'm imagining a workflow is that you log on, you do a git pull to your master, you catch your code up to speed, okay,
Yeah.
and then you branch from it if you want once you want to start working.
Yeah. So can you go to your web page, back to the web page, Willa, and you can show what the process would look like because you've already committed a branch. You could say, well, let's imagine your work is done on that. You don't have to necessarily create the pull request, but you can show what it would look like for you to create that pull request.
Literally, I mean, and then I would just discard it. It's fine.
But you can see right away it automatically has the compare and pull request.
Yeah.
Because that was the last commit. But that's because you just did it. Go to your AA10 branch.
Burke, another question as well as doing this.
Yeah.
What's a good policy for who should be managing the pull requests? I think Eric said right now everybody has the ability to do that. Do you think that's okay as a policy?
The convention we try to do, and I think it's a good one, is to say, and you might vary it depending on what you're working on, but for say something like NGAMRS, where it's like the core foundation for a lot of work being done, a good convention is to say that 2 developers' eyes should see code that's going into that. So generally, the practice we would do is that if Willa has made some changes, then he would make a pull request, and someone else would need to accept that pull request. And if so you don't if there's small changes, one-liners or real straightforward things, or if there's a crunch in time, then there's always times where you can kind of bend that rule. But in general, it's best. And when you're working on a module that's just your own little thing on the side, you're not going to go through that and ask someone else to look at every bit of code you change. But for the shared code everybody's collaborating on, it's good practice to make sure 2 different developers' eyes have been on code. And
so another way of saying it is don't pull your own code.
Yeah, I mean, in general, for changes to kind of core, kind of foundational code, you shouldn't be just pushing directly on your own unless it's like a small, trivial change. It's better practice to have someone else have seen it.
Okay. Yeah, so we can have a convention that if you create a pull request, then somebody else has to manage it, not yourself. Although it can be very...
Yeah, there's going to be plenty of times where you're going to want to break that convention for trying to get things done quickly, but we should always feel uncomfortable when you're accepting your own pull request. Should feel abnormal, and that's okay.
Okay, we're running out of time, and so let's go over this manual resolution concept.
Okay.
When you do the pull requests, like the green thing to the left of branch AA10, what is that? What did you just click on? I don't know what you clicked on.
I click and create a compare and pull request. I'm creating a pull request.
Which one did you click on? I was looking at one that was over on the left, and then suddenly the page changed.
On the left?
Yeah. So see just to the left of your branch.
This one here? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do the same thing?
Okay. Yeah, it will do the same thing.
Okay. So basically what it's saying is saying...
It doesn't do the same thing, bro. It's different.
No, it looks like the same.
No, it's not.
Well, I mean, it's basically doing both steps. The other one shortcut to this create pull request.
Yeah, right.
Basically, you can see right here. So what he clicked on was, and that'll always be there when you have your branch, is that little. You can see the little icon for pull request, the 2 arrows, and you see when he clicked it up at the top, Now, what you see it showing you is that you have AMPATH, NGR, AMRS. That's the upstream. It's master branch, and what you're trying to merge in is from your AA10 branch. So Willa's AA10 branch. So that's exactly what we were talking about. Is that you're going from your branch into master of upstream. And so if he created the pull request, and you can see the changes down below. You don't need to create the pull request, but you can see what he changed that was shown down below. That's what will be shown.
So you're saying that. So where's the button where you accept the pull? You don't need to press it, but.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and create the pull request because we can.
Just create the pull request.
So when you create the pull request, it'll ask for you, like you can leave a comment. So leave a comment for yourself. Say, please delete me, or this is lousy, or whatever. Okay. So now when he does the create pull request, that's actually making a request of AMPATH to accept something. And so now it took you to AMPATH. So it actually, when he created that, it took him to, now you can see he's no longer on Willa's, he's no longer on his, under his account on GitHub. He is looking at the pull request he just created, which is now a pull request on NGRMRS for AMPATH. And so when someone goes to NGRMRS, they will see this pull request, and
they can check on the commit. They can go to the commit and check it out. They can check the file, change it.
Can you scroll down?
Yeah. So you can.
What's that?
You scroll down. I just want to see how you accept the request.
Actually, I don't have rights to merge. Interesting. I have. Okay, right here. So you say merge your pull request.
All right. So now, if you were to merge right now, there's the potential for conflicts? Is that right or no?
No, there isn't. That file does not exist yet on the main branch, on the master branch of the AMPATH repo, so there won't be any conflict.
Yeah, but if there were conflicts, it wouldn't give you the ability to merge automatically online.
Right.
What would happen?
It would say you can't merge this. I don't know the actual wording, but it would say something along the lines of.
But how would you resolve it? Or you just wouldn't?
You would do that. You would check out that, so you could check out that pull request, and you essentially check out the branch with the pull request changes, and you could essentially you would manage the merge on locally on your system.
Okay.
So I don't know that we have time right now to create a pull request with a conflict to show that.
We can do that another time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna close this.
Why don't you cancel the pull request?
Yeah, that's basically what I just did.
You just closed it.
Yeah.
You rejected it. Okay.
Yeah, and then you can delete that branch.
Yeah, delete the branch, and then comment. No need to comment, I guess. I don't know why. I can restore. Okay, interesting. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I can. Right here, restore branch.
Yes, I agree. You can. I say no, you don't need to.
Okay. All right. So we're just gonna go ahead and maybe we can do that merging real quick. Okay. So I'm just
Create a conflict real quick.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pull the.
Is this new stuff to you, or it's not new? It is. I mean, some is new. Yeah. Okay. Is any of this new for you?
We've been doing it, but I don't think people have different experiences.
Because
We used to do
it's actually fairly important that we do it exactly the way that we agreed to, because
we used to do it.
So now I have test.js. That's fine. What's going on?
We take that from this branch.
This is strange.
which is interesting. So
It's not. Oh, it's a different branch. Okay, I see.
the team.
You want to check out that same branch.
Yeah.
So you need to pull down. You need to pull hyphen all or something.
Hmm?
Oh, you can. You're just gonna pull the branch by name.
Couldn't find her. Not, oh, I can. There's another bit all hyphen all. Is it all? Like all, I think, right?
I think that will pull down all the branches.
Yeah. Ah, no. That branch is gone, I think. Oh, it's gone. Okay, anyway, so the branch is gone for some reason. How can I do this real quick?
Oh, you deleted the branch.
Yeah, I deleted it. So I just push it again. And then I say, yeah, okay, now I have it. So if I say get before A, okay. So let's say I add the,
FYI, when you type CO, everybody else needs to type checkout.
yeah, right. So yeah, you have to type checkout. Or you can actually print out. Now we can do this next time. I can just share the script to use this shortcut. It's so much. It costs a lot of time to type branch, checkout, and all this other commands.
Yeah, milliseconds of wasted life.
Yeah.
Hey, we got an extra second last night.
Those extra letters.
This line is added.
Yeah, this line's added, and then go up and change. We'll say that JJ is making this change, so he'll go and take one of the L's out of Willa.
We're going to do it. Okay.
Go to L.
Huh? Okay. So if I git st, this file is. I have to add this file.
Wait. Go back. Edit the file again.
Oh, okay.
We want to make sure there's a conflict, so we don't want to just add a line because. So go and take an L out of Willa.
Okay, right. Yeah, that's right. So.
Just change it to another name so it's quite obvious.
Huh?
My name is Burke.
Okay. Okay, fine. So you want to.
So these are changes that Git won't know how to merge.
So I say git add, and then I say git commit -m a. This was added. I will in second return. Okay, now if we do a git push, original -10. Oh, it's mentioned. There is no conflict.
That's because all you did was make changes and commit them.
Yeah. So there's no any conflict. So what I need to do right now? Okay, now
Go to your other repo, make some changes, and then try to.
Right. So now, so if I do changes right now and say other changes,
And then change the name to my name is JJ, or my name is Eric.
actually there's no even need to do that. Even this one will be great.
Yeah, no, but we want to highlight the.
Okay.
So here he's doing a commit with a -a that does the add automatically.
Oh, that's on the stage. So that's what I was confused about. I always do git commit -a-m.
Yeah, the -a is basically add. It's staging the changes you've made.
Right. And
The-
it's just
the-
using
the-
files that
the-
everybody knows about.
Yeah, the potential danger of that would be is if you'd made changes to multiple files that were for two different purposes, then you
Right.
wouldn't want to use that shortcut.
Now I get it. All right.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's good to So that's what you get. You get that problem. Fail to push some refs because of that.
Let's resolve it.
So now you need to pull those.
So I say before.
I think you just.
Huh? Get pull origin.
Do you have to say that? Can't you just get pull?
If I say git pull, it's gonna pull the master branch. It's not gonna pull this branch.
What?
Yeah,
Really?
That's what it does. Okay, let me try. I think that's.
I thought it would pull changes from your branch on your that you've cloned.
See, it says it's complaining. There's no.
Oh, that's why there's no interest in your. There's no entry in your config. Is that you created the branches manually without linking them to anything?
Yeah, that's what you are referring to that time, I guess.
Yeah. Okay.
You have to add the remote tracking, then you can do that. But right now I have to do it manually. So I have to say origin. Actually, today I've learned something very interesting. Okay, so you get that.
There's your conflict.
Yeah. So if you go to this file, it says here image conflict in test.js. So you can it actually lists the file where there is conflict. So you go in there, you see that in the head, this is what is in. Wait, what is this?
Yeah, so it's showing you the less than referring to head, which is the whatever is the the head on your current repo.
Yeah, you're currently right. Yeah.
The equal signs divide. So it's the merge is between the less thans and the greater thans, and the equal signs line divides kind of essentially what you have versus what the other guy has.
Yeah.
So would there be multiple equal signs then, or what? I think I'm confused. What are we looking for here?
What you're looking at, you're going to see the less than, the greater than. Those are the boundaries of the whatever there was conflict in, and it's referring. You can see the head at the top one is referring to the head of your local repository. So those are changes locally. And the greater than at the end with that big UUID looking thing, that's an actual like reference to the commit that is in his repo on GitHub. That's the actual position that has the changes that he committed from elsewhere. So the Burke and the second.
One step back, Burke. What's this file?
So you're looking at the actual file that has the conflict.
So where is it?
It's exactly where it would always be.
Okay, so
just look at the directory. Look at the contents of the directory.
So it says that if you look at the message when I try to pull, when you say pull, actually pull does two things at once. It fetches and then it merges. So it is fetching it tries to merge. It actually fails because it doesn't know how to do the merging where there's a difference. It doesn't know which one to choose, either to choose the ones from the remote branch or to choose the changes in your currently in your head. So
and what do you see if you do get status?
Yeah.
Does it tell you you've got where the problem is? Yeah, so it's actually telling you you've got two modifications in conflict on test.js. So it's not a special file somewhere. It's actually the code itself will contain the less than and greater than stuff.
Yeah. So basically, Git is rewriting your test.js file. It is doing it in your file.
Okay. So your original file is now gone.
Yep, it's gone. But you can actually get rid of this if you want.
Yeah, I mean you can always step backwards. It's a versioning system.
Yeah.
So it's not gone and lost forever. It's just basically it's showing you within that file right where you would be, where you would do the work for test.js. It's showing you here's the difference between what they have and what you have that I couldn't merge. Git is pretty good at doing auto merges. So if there's separate line changes, it can sometimes merge those without giving you conflicts.
Okay.
But
okay. Go ahead, Mark.
In this case, we specifically
another, it'll.
Yeah.
You can throw out this by saying git merge abort.
So, wait.
Now your file is right there. If you go to nano. press the JS, you'll see that your file is still intact. So you can just abort if you feel like, okay, I don't want to deal with this right now, just abort and your tree will be clean.
Okay, so can we go back and create the conflict again and then resolve it?
Yeah, sure. So I just need to do the same thing, git pull origin, and then I get the conflict. So I say nano. So you just have to make choices here. Which one do you want to keep? For example, I can say, okay, I'm just going to keep my head. I'm just going to get rid of all these other things.
So essentially, you can see, you can review what the differences are between the two and decide how they should get merged.
Yeah.
You make those changes manually.
So do you have to get rid of all? You have to get rid of all that junk then?
Yeah. You have to get rid of the junk.
You essentially are just changing the file to what you want it to be.
Yeah.
And you'll see the command he does will be to basically force, like to tell Git, okay, I've addressed the changes in this file, now take them.
Yes. I say that one, then I say git st. You will see that there's modification. So
no,
this,
you don't say git st, you say git status, right?
yeah, git status, right? Okay. Git commit -a-m. And then I can do a git push.
Wait. If you do a git status now, what does it say?
Git status. Nothing to commit. The directory is clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you committed everything.
Yeah. So I can push now back to my origin. -10.
Will, a quick question. What is the effect if you left out the branch? Where will it push the changes?
It will push to them. Usually, so because I don't have the tracking information for this particular branch, when you say git push, it's going to push, the default is master. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah. Similar with the pull. If you say git pull, it's just going to pull the origin master branch. But if you're on master, it seems like if you're on master, because when we tried to do this, Bart just suggested I should do a git pull. It actually tries to pull the remote branch of your corresponding to your current branch, and it failed actually. So I guess it's when you are on master. I have to review that. Maybe.
So you can do a command where you say git branch and then -- set upstream to equal to, and you can set the upstream. So if you git branch and then --
this one, upstream.
set -upstream to set -upstream -to
This is
equal, and then you say, oh no, that's probably setting the upstream.
Yeah, there is a command for that, and I don't think it is this complicated.
Wait, can I just recap what I understand about this conflict resolution?
Yeah, sure.
I want to make sure we're on the same page. So basically, you had NGAMRS2 and NGAMRS, right?
Yeah.
MRS2 both checked out. They both had checked out the same branch. Is that right?
Right.
Now you made some changes on NGAMRS2, and then committed them, right?
Right.
And then you went back and you made changes on NGAMRS, same file, and then you tried to commit those, and it gave you an error.
Yeah.
Right?
No. I tried to push. Committing is fine. You can commit because you're committing on your local repo. Now, when I try to push to the remote repo, that's when I get an error.
Okay. So you tried to push them, and then it gave you an error. So then, maybe not an error isn't the right word, but it said you have a conflict.
Yeah, a conflict, right.
Now, at that time when you did the push, did it update that file, that test.js file, with the kind of those less than, less than, less than, and greater than, greater than, greater than signs, or was there a step in between that?
No, there is a step. I had to do a poll.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get that message saying that there's a conflict, the next thing you do is
you go to the files, you edit the files that it said there's a conflict in, and you'll see the conflicts. You'll see those.
that's what I mean. So you don't have to do another step.
Yeah, I think JJ, what JJ is saying is when you try to push, Git will complain that it can't actually push your changes because there is a conflict, so it doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So in order for you to resolve those conflicts, you have first to pull. When you pull, the Git then at this point it will do those changes in your file. It will put those less than, greater than, and the equal sign. Then you have to go into that file manually, resolve those conflicts, and then commit, and then you can again push.
Okay. And so in those, with the way that Git points it out to you, so if there is multiple places in the file where there's conflicts, there will be multiple less than, greater than signs. Those are just the beginning of each conflict, or will it try test? Yeah?
Yes. You'll have that patterned in every place that there's a conflict.
Okay, and then the equal sign above the code will be your code, or the...
Yeah, the equal sign separates the two, and in general, it will be the pattern that we saw there, that it's your code and then the other guy's code.
Okay.
By the way, you will just know your code because if you see it, you will know, okay, this is my code, this is the other. Yeah.
Okay.
But if you can also, if there's any doubt, you can see it has head as one of the labels. That's head is your local reference. The other one that at the end it had that kind of big UUID thing. That's the reference to the particular commit of the other guy.
Okay. All right. So then you fix it however you want. Let's say you want to use your local code instead of what's in the master branch that you're committing to. How do you do that?
Yeah, you just do what Willa did. You take out any of the stuff that you don't want to be in that file. So you have test.js. It's got some conflict in it. You edit that file to make it look like you think it should look based on that information. So you know what you can see what you did. You can see what the other guy did. You are responsible for figuring out what should you take what the other guy did? Should you do what you did? Or should it be some combination of the two? That's up for you to figure out.
Right. And once you do that, let's say that you want to, whatever changes you do, that's what you want to be, you want GitHub to accept it.
Yeah.
There was some sort of a force command?
No, I didn't use force. You just push. It will push. It's going to change that file in the remote repo to the file, the way it appears, the way you want it to appear.
I see.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm wondering is there possible to bypass that step and just say, I know that the code is different than my code, but I want to use my code anyway? Do you always have to go through the step where you edit the file?
There are commands to say what to take.
Okay.
Yeah, by the way, that's why we don't want to be working on the AMPATH NGAMRS because of things like this. I might think, okay, this is good. Somebody else thinks, no, we should do it this way. So if you're working on your local branch and later on you are pushing that to your remote repo and then you create a pull request, most likely is when somebody else is going through that code, we will agree that, okay, you know what, this is what we want. And then when you merge it there, we don't think anyone is going to have a dispute on that. Although it can happen later on depending on the kind of things you want to do, but it is minimizing this kind of things.
So sorry, I lost what I was going to say.
So Willa, you can track with it's git branch -u, and then you say origin/AA10.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. So is it a good...
Origin/AA10.
It just seems like it's probably good to try and find these, well, what's our strategy here for minimizing the amount of conflicts that we have to resolve?
You have to talk to each other.
I like
So,
that.
no, I mean, in general, if everybody is going to make rapid, like, massive changes to every file, then you're going to have conflicts to deal with. If
Okay.
you say, hey, if you lean over to the guy next to you and you say, hey, by the way, guys, I'm going to be working on this thing for now, and they say, okay, well, I was going to work on that too, but I'll wait for a while till you commit your changes, then you avoid that conflict. So
Yeah.
90% of avoiding conflicts is actually communicating with each other. Conflicts will happen occasionally, but there's also a lot of, there's no reason to worry about if you're editing one file and Eric is editing another file. Git will, in general, will manage that,
Yeah.
and you won't have, it's not, conflicts are not the normal. It's not like you see it every time you make changes, but if
I
you
guess
do.
the only place where I'm worried about it happening, Burke, is maybe not the only, but is, let's say me and Eric are both working on AA10, right? And we agree that he's going to do some work on it now and I'll deal with it later, okay? But I might have a local branch on my machine now that is going to be in
So,
conflict with the
yeah,
changes.
so yeah, in general, you before you started work on that, before you ever sit down to start work on something, you would pull the latest changes. So
Okay.
the very first step when working on something that might be shared with anybody else is that you want to pull any recent changes, so you don't start working on something that might be a day old.
That's what I was looking for.
Yeah.
Okay, so
So you always start with a pull, then you make your changes, and you make your commit, you submit your commit, and if you're talking with your colleagues, then you'll avoid most conflicts.
right. So the other thing is you pull, but
That's the command you want. If you
your work, even if you're not necessarily finished with your feature, you have to commit it back and push it, right? So that they can pull it when they start working again and avoid.
Oh yeah, but in general, that's not going to work that way, because usually unless it's a really big project, usually you're going to be you're working on your fork. So if, for example, you were kind of pair programming and wanted to kind of pass things back and forth, you would probably just pick, rather than trying to manage moving that branch across between your two forks, you would probably just pick one and say, okay, well, I'm going to, let's say Eric's going to make a branch for AA10, and then you would sit down and you would check out a branch of the code, but point it to his repo. So
You wouldn't be working
I mean,
on your own local. Okay.
or you just clone his fork separately and work in that same branch. If you wanted, rather than you having a branch in your fork of NGRMRS and Eric having the same name branch, in his own fork, it will get challenging to try to share across those two.
Okay.
You're much better off to be working against the same repository. And the way pull and push were set up originally, before the days of GitHub, is people would do pulls and pushes across machines. Like you would literally clone code from his laptop onto yours by just pointing to his IP address and cloning it locally, work on it, and you just kind of work peer to peer. In the days of GitHub, GitHub serves as kind of that shared, in the cloud, easy to work from space. So you don't have to do the, from laptop to laptop thing. He could make the branch. You could clone his fork locally and then check out his branch, and then you just, as long as you coordinate your, pushing, making changes, you're good.
At this point, I think at least we understand how to resolve conflicts, and we'll probably just have to learn by doing, how to avoid these problems. And
yeah. In general, having multiple people working on the same ticket independently would be a bad practice, no matter Git or no Git. But if you're working together like pair programming, then it's likely that you'd have one person checking it out, working on the code, and you would be talking to each other, saying, oh well, tonight I have to go out to dinner with somebody. Why don't you work on the code? I'll commit my changes. You check it out and work on it.
Okay. All right. We don't have time today. This was, I think, very helpful. I think that the other thing that I wanted us to talk about was, the team had asked to set up a development server. My impression was that Miensha was going to set up a virtual machine or something like that. I don't know exactly what he was going to do, but I just wonder what the role of Docker is in supporting like development environments. So maybe we'll put that on the table. But if Burke and Willa, if you can, since you have the most experience with Docker, if you can think about whether what I'm saying even makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, the value of Docker would be primarily. I don't know that I would start out trying to get everything in Docker. I wouldn't, but I think primarily for if you want an environment like a testing or a development or a production environment set up real quickly, and reliably, setting that up using Docker would be useful. But I mean, when it comes to like NGAMRS, it's a web app and it's kind of all contained, and so there's less. I don't know that there's as much value. Docker's.
In general, of as we set up development environments. So right now we're doing NGAMRS, but maybe another time we're working on a module.
Yeah.
Should we have?
What the Bomni team has been working on is setting up Docker containers for an OpenMRS environment, or setting up their production environment in a Docker container so that you can when you're doing development on the module, you can easily, rather than having to worry about testing it locally in your own kind of custom configuration, and then you go to try to get it on the testing server or deploy it to production and things are different. Having a reliable Docker container that you can essentially fire up your module within that, that's
okay.
That's something that might be useful for us. I think I have yet to see best practice for that, and it's evolving. So I don't know that I would start there yet.
Let me follow up with you, Burke, but this is out of my expertise by a lot. So if you could help us think about how we need to set up this, that would be very helpful, whether it's Docker or something else.
Yeah, the original idea for the development server, I think, was that at the time, internet connection was unreliable enough that the thought was having a mirror, a mirror copy of the GitHub repos would help the team, because then they could do commits and pulls locally, and those would be synchronized with GitHub when networking was available. I don't know if that's still the case.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I mean, if folks can generally get to GitHub pretty reliably, then I don't think creating a mirror, while it's doable, I don't know that it's worth the effort if people can get to GitHub reliably.
So what should we do?
Well, I would I would work with GitHub. If we have a particular reason we need a development server, then we could use it for that. If they're already setting up a VM, then let them set up a VM, and let's not worry about trying to invent a use for it before we have a use for it.
But the use case I'm imagining is that you commit your code, we use Travis, it runs the tests, and then it deploys it to the test server. So that we should always be able to go to the test server to demonstrate our code to various users.
Yeah, and so that probably you could do by getting a development server that's outside the firewall. That could basically, well, no, I mean, I guess it probably would need to be outside the firewall for it to for GitHub to inform it. So Travis can be set up in GitHub itself to do the building, but then you would want to set up a webhook to notify your development server that commits have been made. So that's how essentially Git would just do an HTTP request to your development server to say, FYI, things have changed, and then it would be your development server would go and fetch that.
Yeah.
So
So that's what I'm thinking, something like
Yeah.
that. All right, now
Deploy, yeah. That can be done. GitHub has the hooks in it. You essentially tell the repo that whenever a change comes in, you set up. It's the same way Travis works basically. Is you put a webhook for Travis and say whenever a commit comes in, notify Travis, and then Travis sees the change and
it's getting late for these guys, so let's let them go. But
okay.
If we can,
Yeah, we can get there. We won't get there overnight, but we can get there.
Yeah, if we can make this real, it'd be so satisfying, I think, for us as a team to be committing things and then having them visible to everyone without having to do anything more than just commit your code.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Brock, when you said development server, I guess you are referring to the testing server, right?
No, I think JJ was talking about them setting up a new VM as a development server purely for development purposes, not a general testing server.
Okay, so
more like a dev test than a UAT.
Right. Okay, I see.
That should be right one.
Right now we are using that as actually that server, the one we're using for UAT, it was meant for the dev test. I don't know how it ended up being used by everybody.
Yeah, but we don't need to battle that if they're already setting up a development server as a VM. Then we can treat that as we can treat the test server as a general test server for people to and that the test server I think has patient data on it, doesn't it?
They've been de-identified. They are not de-identified.
Yeah, I don't believe that it's de-identified, but
you don't believe? Okay.
Yeah. I was going to set up. I mean, the issue. I think the tricky other thing that we have to think about with this testing is that we need data. And I don't think I don't know how well we've configured and this is where maybe a Docker thing would come in handy, is that we need something that has good test data for us that everybody can access. And I feel like what happens right now is that we just create new VMs and put in new data every single time we want to do it, and that doesn't seem like a good idea to me.
Yeah, Docker is... Okay, go ahead, Doctor.
No, my full statement was yep.
Oh, okay, yep. All right. Yeah, so Docker is good if you are, for example, if we are going to be testing against an instance that runs MySQL. Yeah, it's good to have that in Docker so that you can easily create a new one whenever you feel like you need something new, and you don't have to actually copying and moving the SQL dumps and doing it all over again. So it's really good. So
on the ETL server, could we say set up a Docker container that has all of the, and that's where we're going to put our test data, and then it doesn't matter if we use I mean, I don't know if we need to do this in Docker containers or not. It just seems smarter to me. Anyway, I just think we need to think about this. And the way that I've observed things to be in the past has been fairly ad hoc. And it would be nice to come up with this. There seems to be some genericness to this problem, and it would be nice to figure that out and set it up so that we don't keep running into the same problem every time.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll send out an email with some of my thoughts. We'll come up with a strategy, and then we'll probably have to rely, especially on you, Willa, because I think you have the most experience doing this, to help us configure the environment. But ideally, teach the others, how to do it as well. Okay.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that's good. Actually, we're still learning, even in the OpenMRS space. We have something going on regarding Docker.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's good. I think we can leverage those efforts we are doing to set up our environment now.
All right, let's let everyone go home.
Yeah, right. You guys, you are very late.
All right. Thank you very much, Burke and Willa. That was extremely helpful.
Cool. All right.
Have a good day.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Tuta o nano.
Oh, thanks, Mark, for the recommendation.
Sure.